Hey, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time here, and glad to have everybody. Today we're going to talk about 5 things to avoid as a beekeeper, and especially if you're a beginning beekeeper. And I'm talking about all 5 of these because I've, to one degree or another, done them all. And some not so proud moments, but hey, it's all learning experience, right? That's what it's all about. Before we get into that, I want to say thank you to my subscribers. We're up over the 1,000 subscriber mark, and I really appreciate that. We started this about a year ago, basically because I really enjoyed teaching. I was in higher education for 30 years and retired from that 10 years ago when I started beekeeping, and I kind of miss teaching. I do a little bit of it, but I really enjoyed doing this because of all the great people I've been able to meet in the last year and talk with, and hopefully we'll learn a little bit together. I want to talk about 5 things that I think you should avoid as a beekeeper. And we're going to start out with number 1. How's my girls doing? Are you looking so cute today? Hi, welcome back, June. Where did you get that orange pollen from? Oh, there goes Alice. See ya, Alice. It's going to storm later, so be careful out there. Be in before it rains. I don't want you to catch a cold. You guys be good. Okay, maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, but don't treat your bees like they are pets. I see it time and time again, and all it does is take you away from the fact that you are a farmer in a sense, and they are your livestock, and you need to treat them like bugs, because once you start assigning human feelings to them, you're going to lose all track of what is important for the bees. I could go on and on and on, but you're overthinking it if you're thinking that they are cute little pets and you need to treat them like your dog or your brother or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to say wife because then it gets weird, but you need to treat them as a bug because almost everything I talk about from here out is going to feed back to that. Very important. Number 2. Learn how to feed your bees. What does that mean? Well, there's as many ways to feed bees as there are beekeepers telling you how to feed their bees. Learn how to feed your bees. But what I really mean by that is that there's a time to feed your bees, there's a time not to feed your bees, and yes, you can overfeed bees, especially in the spring when you're worried about, oh my God, they're not bringing in pollen, they're not bringing in nectar, I've got to keep dumping on them. That's where I made my biggest mistake, was I fed the stink out of bees right away and kept feeding, and I had swarms starting the 1st of April. Why? Because the bees kept taking the feed. I was probably using Boardmans at the time. They kept using the feed, and they're bringing the sugar water in and they're storing it because there wasn't as much coming in, but there was enough food coming in because it was spring. Once I'm seeing pollen, that means I'm seeing nectar too. So I kept feeding, and they became honey bound. They became feed bound. They were taking the sugar water and putting it into cells. Queen had nowhere to lay, gone they went. I pulled out the frames and I can remember going, ooh, there looked like gooey dripping all over the place. It was because I was using 1-to-1 sugar water and it just didn't work. So don't overfeed your bees in the spring. Don't underfeed them in the fall. Go and look at my heft video, and it kind of tells you how much you need to be looking at for bees to be happy to get through. We got a bit of a thunderstorm going. Ha! The dog's gonna be running here with her tail between her legs real quick. But in the fall, don't underfeed your bees. You need the bees to be heavy enough to go into the winter. It's okay in the fall for them to become a little honey bound, just to give them what they need. So don't overfeed, don't underfeed, find the right mix of it. So that's number 2. Learn how to feed your bees. Number 3 is very, very closely related. And number 3 is pollen patties. It's real easy to mess up with pollen patties. You've got winter patties, and then you've got pollen patties. These are global patties, 4%. Love these in the early spring for buildup. But you need to know when to put these on. You can put them on too early and they start building like crazy. But that's not the point I really want to make today. So this pollen patty started out about this big and I cut it down. And here's the reason. The big mistake I think people make with pollen patties is they take a whole patty and they put it on their hive. That's all well and good. And in the spring, if you've got a really strong hive, that may be okay. I don't do it that way because I have learned that these pollen patties are small hive beetle breeding grounds. They love them. A lot of really good new information come out. Dr. Lewis Bartlett has some fantastic research into small hive beetles, but it really revolved a lot around how much small hive beetles love to lay eggs in pollen patties. If you put a whole pollen patty in, then the small hive beetles are going to lay in them. It's just a given. A lot more in the fall than in the spring if you're putting fall patties on, but I see it in the spring as well. So this patty was about this big, but I cut them off and I put them in hives, only as much as I think the bees can eat before the small hive beetles get to them. And I cut them again, and I cut them again. That's what I did, and I'm using this up because I really found it in the freezer. And I know a lot of you are using already made up pollen patties. The other way to go, well, here it is. Now I make my own out of the big bucket because it's a fraction of the cost of making these, and I can make smaller batches. So anyway, small hive beetle breeding grounds, feed them less, pop them on more often, and then you'll also know when they don't want to take pollen patties anymore. So you don't have huge wastes of pollen patties. Throw them back in the freezer, put them in the refrigerator, and you'll be good. That's number 3. Okay, 2 and 3, pretty closely related, but for different reasons. Let's move on to number 4. And number 4, clear a little space, put my stuff away. Number 4. Number 4 is thinking that you don't need to control pests in your hives. Bottom line to it is if you're not controlling varroa mite, these are my tools for varroa mite, and you're not, here it is, doing some sort of control for small hive beetles, you are doing your bees a disservice. In nature, bees are still going to be dealing with all of these maladies. We force bees to live in boxes, and in those boxes, it's a lot harder for them to control the pests that come in and out. And if you're not working on developing some sort of a pest management system, you're going to do your bees a disservice. You need to check your mite counts. I know people are squeamish. It's like, I have to kill 200 bees. I can't kill 200 bees. Go to number 1. They're a bug. You'd rather kill 200 bugs than you would kill an entire hive, because varroa mite will kill your hive if they get out of control. Come up with a pest management system. I love my oxalic acid vaporizer. There are wands out there you can use. I love Apigard as my first line of defense in July, August after I pull honey supers off. I also like to do dribbles. Randy Oliver has some great information out on Scientific Beekeeping about dribble and how to do dribble and its results. And beetle blasters. There's a lot of different beetle traps that are out there. I've had a lot of success with beetle blasters. Unscented Swiffer sheets will work great. I don't like those because bees get caught in them. Anyways, there's lots of traps out there. Don't get into the trap of thinking, I want to do my bees naturally. Well, you can. And some people are very successful at that. I'm actually managing a hive now, and you're going to see a video on that in a few weeks, about managing a hive that hasn't been gone into in 5 years. How do they survive? I've seen them come and go because I drive by that hive all the time. But I will tell you, you need to treat your bees. Enough of that. Number 5, lots of stuff. Number 5 is kind of a double 5A, 5B. I'm not sure where they all fall in, but number 5 is not getting some sort of a mentor. Somebody who's been through it all. You need to find a good mentor. 5B, don't believe or do everything your mentor says. I know that sounds counterproductive, but there are lots of different ways to work with your bees. A really good mentor in your area is going to know what works with the bees in your area. But a bee club has lots of mentors, and you're going to get the opportunity to get lots of different feedback. I think it's important to have somebody guide you through, but I think if you only rely on the information from one person, then you end up making the same mistakes they've made. And beekeepers make mistakes, don't get me wrong. I make a mistake probably every time I go into a bee yard, but you learn from those mistakes. Don't discredit the opportunity to go out and look at YouTube channels. I would give you a little bit of a warning. Us YouTuber guys, we're all over the planet. So what works for me here in Southwest Illinois won't work the same in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan or in Florida or in the UK, because different climates impact bees differently. So if you're going to rely on YouTube, make sure that you're watching somebody that's in a similar climate to you. Now, there's lots of good basic information that you're going to get from YouTube, just basic beekeeping. But if you need it in your area, you need to find somebody that is in a similar climate so that you're not working your bees in a way that is counterproductive because you're not in your climate. So there's my top 5. As I said earlier, I had a list of 10, 15, 20, I don't know, that just kept coming to me. But those are the 5 that stood out to me as being probably the most important things I avoid, things I've done, things I hope I've learned. I hope sharing those gets you kind of thinking about, well, let me think about the way I treat my bees. The main thing is giving bees the resources to be successful, but not overdoing your bees. So I'm going to go back to number 1. Think of them as how would they best survive in nature. I keep that in the back of my mind, and that's how I keep bees, and that's what's really worked for me. And I hope you pull a little something from this. Hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Appreciate that. Just happy beekeeping, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.